It's Bill Gross, the LA probate expert, and I'm really excited to have here a guy who's a legend if you know Southern California real estate, big time mortgage lender, real estate agent, and also a purveyor and renter of exotic cars, and more importantly, about ready to enjoy his Taco Tuesday. Frederick Solomon. Frederick, how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
You know, I feel like I've known you for a long time. I follow you on Facebook. I know you have a radio program. I've seen your videos and stuff like that in social media. But what caused me to jump out to you was a post you had recently about a very common problem where people go through all the trouble of protecting their assets, protecting their wealth, protecting their legal rights by creating some sort of a estate plan, maybe a living trust, and then they refinance and pull it out and doesn't go back in, and the whole thing kind of falls apart again. And I saw your post and I wanted to reach out and talk to you about that a little bit. Before I go there, just give me a little background on what you're, how you started in real estate, maybe where you grew up, how you started in real estate, then how you got into lending.
Well, so my father is a CPA in the San Fernando Valley in Encino. He just retired like a year ago. And my brother also got into becoming a CPA. So I money and financing, it's all kind of intertwined and, intertwined. And of course, CPAs are great referral sources for lenders. So when I was going to San Diego State University, one of my dad's fraternity bros owned a private money lending company. And so I went to work with him and I just learned about the mortgage industry. I had no idea that I was going to be doing that for the next 40 years of my life. But it was just getting my feet wet. I did deliveries. I learned about, he owned Murrieta Hot Springs, that resort. If you ever heard of Murrieta, it's now defunct, unfortunately. But anyways, it was just a learning experience. And I love, like I always tell my son, you got to enjoy what you do, right?
Yeah.
You got to get, what is it? Gratification. Is that a word that we could use in our business?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of businesses give you gratification?
Right.
All right. Well, I'm not a doctor. And so on my radio show, I don't save people's lives, but, Solomon, it's not a Christian boy's name. It's a Jewish boy's name. What do Jewish people like to do? They like to save money. So I'm just helping my people out, saving them money.
Let my people go and save some money. Okay.
Yeah, why not?
So you ended up in real estate, and just factoid, San Diego State. My brother went to San Diego State for a year. And the other thing I would say is I never met anybody who went to San Diego State for 4 years and graduated. Usually they go for year two and have to detox and then graduate somewhere else for what it's worth. So you're in real estate. Tell me about because I saw your answer was so sophisticated. It's one thing just to talk about something, but it's obvious that you are involved in this. You said something to the effect that when you do refinances for customers who have to deed a property out of a trust, that you also have your title company prepare the deed to put it back in the trust. So tell me about that, how you have the foresight, because that's an area that I work in a lot, how you had the foresight to do that, and maybe give a shout out if you work with a company that does a good job of that, shout them out for us.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I deal with a lot of LA people, LA people have money, Orange County people have money, and a lot of them have living trusts, and they should. You don't want to deal with probate as you're in that field of work. And so, better than anybody. And the idea is to give information, kind of like the Oprah Winfrey philosophy, give until you get, give without any expectations. But, we all have war stories, right? We're in the battlefield every day in our industry, right. And we come across situations, and those situations, people can learn from. And I, have a little bit of a following on social media and also on the radio. And so, when I give out advice, it's to literally help people and don't make the same mistake this person made, kind of thing.
Right. Well, yeah, and you know, I always tell people there's two types of probate real estate agents. There's the posers who complain about problems, and then there's the real veterans who brag about the problems because we get paid to solve people's problems, right, or avoid people's problems. And so sometimes if you do your job, you avoid a problem, the customer doesn't really come to appreciate what you do, but they should. So talk a little bit when somebody has a living trust and they own their property in their living trust, which they should, when they get the trust created, they should deed the property into the trust. And some attorneys, most attorneys won't help them do that. My experience is most of them tell the customer, you know, here's the deeds, good luck. And
Go
they
record it.
Go record it, good luck.
Yeah.
The ones I work with, I offer that I'll call the customer and follow up, go online, check it's recorded, give them a copy of the recorded copy so they know that it's been done. I think that's really important, a big mistake a lot of attorneys make, in my opinion. But in your case, you get a customer who has a living trust, the property is in the trust, you refinance it. And so what happens? Imagine I come to you as a borrower and I'm going to refinance or I'm going to buy a new house and I have my money in the trust. What do you do to help me not make that same mistake?
That's a great question. And that's the purpose of that Facebook post that you responded to.
Yeah.
So the first thing that I do is I deal with a good escrow company. And my girls, I've been dealing with them for over 20 years. I know that if there's an issue, they're going to get it resolved for me. I just know that about them because they care. You have to care. So when I have my clients, you know, I'm one of their biggest producing brokers that gives them a lot of business. So they don't want to screw up on my files because they know that I'm going to go find another escrow company if they screw up. Well, just so happens, you know, I'm doing a loan for my parents in 2011 or 12 area, you know, right around there. I got my dad a 2.875% rate on a 15-year loan.
Boom.
And, you know, and I'm like, hey, Dad, you won't believe this, but that 2.875 rate, we can now get 1.875. So we looked into it, right? We started, and he owns 20 corporations, whatever he owns. He, you know, his file is, you know, a football field thick. And so, you know, we're dealing with all this paperwork. And then we pull the title report and we find out that the title is not in his name. Because the last time we refinanced the property, now this is my own father's house, right? He's a CPA. He deals with estate tax planning attorneys every day that ends in Y. Let's see, what days are those? Monday, Tuesday, that every day. And so when we found out that his property was not put back into the living trust, and this is 10 years. Meanwhile, my dad had cancer.
Oof.
So bladder cancer, you know, last time I checked, people can die from cancer. God forbid he would have died, right, in that 10-year period. And I would have been the culprit that because I didn't double check on my own father's refinance, that it didn't go back into the living trust. So I sent out an email. It went out to 17,000 previous clients that I did business with. I said, oh, by the way, if you happened to do a refinance with my company, I just want you to know that we should check and make sure that the property went back into the living trust. So what I do now is at 3 weeks after the loan closes, I make sure that the clients reach back out to me and we check to make sure that the property went back into the living trust. So I had over 800 responses to that email that I sent out.
Wow.
You know how much time that was to go pull 800 property profiles and make sure that all the properties went back into the living trust.
Wow.
There's a lot of it was like an extra. I don't know what it was just so much time, but I felt compelled to do that because I did not want to be the reason why someone had to deal with probate.
Wow.
And it's, even though it may or may not have been my fault, right? I'm still the responsible party because I'm the one that did the loan for them.
You know, I pre-COVID, I used to go to court every day and watch, and this would happen regularly where people had a living trust and they created it and they deeded it out and they refinanced or something and didn't go back in, and they go to the judge and complain. Now, there is a process. It's called a Hegstead petition. We petition the court. It sounds simple. You do a petition, go to the court, get approval. But there's a process the court goes through. Today in LA County, from the day you file, you can't get the hearing for 6 months. There's just nothing you can do. And so people discover sometimes they're ready to sell property, they're in escrow, and they discover the deed was out, and now they got to wait 6 months. It's going to obviously torpedo the deal, perhaps. So it's a very important. It seems like a minor technicality, but the way I describe it is the living trust is like you buy a safe, and if you don't put the property in the trust, it's like taking your gold or your money and putting it on top of the safe. If you don't get it inside the door and lock it, you haven't effectuated the deal. So you went back and you had to redo a bunch of those, but I'll bet you had some happy customers that you got this.
Yeah, I did. Yes, it's all about protecting your client as a as a security guard or one of these guards that protect these famous people, right? It's your job to protect your client.
Right.
And I think it's really important to mention exactly what you just said about that what was it?
Hegstead petition.
Yes, I think it's really because my friend Aaron Mazzrillo, who is a big real estate investor, I think he owns probably 50 or 60 houses. He talked about that same exact thing. And I think it's really important to mention that again, because that is something that you can do to eliminate this problem.
Well, it doesn't really eliminate the problem. It changes, right? So instead of a probate, and there are some streamlined probate procedures, if you know what you're doing. I work with a service that will streamline and do it fairly inexpensively. A Hegstead, Hegstd petition, it's a petition to take a property and put it into the trust. Hegstead is a famous court case in California that found that, if it was just administratively done incorrectly, that they would allow the court, if the court was convinced that was the intention, was to keep it in the trust, they would move it back in the trust. But it's not simple to get a petition and then get before a judge and get them to agree to it. And there are services that will do it, again, on a little more streamlined basis, but still is time and money. And as long as you have the time and money, it's not a problem. But if you don't, it's a problem. And so, like I said, when I saw your post, I know you do a lot of business and have in Orange County for a long time and do a great job as a lender, but I really thought it showed a very deep insight to caring about your customer beyond, cashing your commission check to help them for their wealth. Do you work with any particular escrows? You mentioned about preparing a deed to put it back in the trust. Is there an escrow company in particular that when you refinance you use, they'll put it back in the trust?
There is, and
because my experience is they don't want to do it. They just want to do the escrow and say thank you, goodbye, and I said, well, no, but the job's not done until we help the customer. So that's what I'm
liability. It's a liability thing.
Yeah.
Right. So yes, there is. Bill, I will give you my escrow company's name and phone number. I am a little selfish in one area, and the reason is because they have such good, excellent customer service that I will refer them clients all the time. But I tell Jan, the owner of the company, I go, Jan, if my service suffers because of all the referrals that I'm giving you, I'm gonna pull my hair out of my head.
So I tell them I'll kill them. If my service goes down because I refer your business, I'm gonna kill you. So your choice is they take care of me or I'm gonna kill you. And I tell them that.
But I will definitely give out the escrow information to you off this, Zoom call. And if you have people that are interested in talking to them, I just want to know, what their volume is and stuff like that before I bombard my escrow girls, if you can appreciate that.
Sure. So if I do have a client, though, that needs a loan, whether it be purchase or refinance, and they have a family trust and want to keep the trust, I should just refer them to you, and you'll be able to take care of that one way or the other, it sounds like.
Yeah, no problem there. We got this. It's what we do. You got to protect the client, and people don't care about you until they know how much you care about them.
Nice.
And part of caring is giving out information to help people. And for me, the information that I give out to help people is the trials and tribulations that I face on a day-to-day basis. So, when you're in escrow and you have a flub and you have to get back down and you got to brush yourself off and you got to run to the finish line because you got a closing date.
Yep.
So I'm all about making sure that we get to the closing, to the finish line, and stuff comes up. It's, I call it the just one more thing business. Just one more thing, just one more thing, just one more thing. We just one more thing people to death.
Well, look, I just one more thing to you this morning. I called you for early because I saw your post and I just thought it was very insightful and special. I appreciate making time for me today. And more importantly, I'm posting this on my social media to help people to understand the importance of having living trust, like having a safe. When you take your valuables out of the safe, you got to make sure you put them back in and make sure they're locked. If you're doing a mortgage, you can talk to Fred about refinancing or a purchase mortgage and make sure that gets done properly, especially if you're in the Orange County area. Fred, I really appreciate making time for me today and making time for people who might need the help. If someone wanted to reach you, what's the best way to get in touch with you if you have questions regarding doing a mortgage down in Orange County or anywhere, really?
Okay, my phone number, it's my personal cell phone number. As we're doing this interview, I've had a few of these calls and I like to pride myself on always answering the phone.
Uh-oh.
So, but we do these things once in a while. So it's 714-403-7334. And my attitude is if I don't answer, call 911 because something's wrong. And that includes Saturdays and Sundays too. So I'm really a really big stickler about answering your phone because really, Bill, that's all we got in our business, right? We got our phones, we got email, we got a fax machine, maybe a scanner.
Well, and you also have a very active Facebook profile, Frederick Solomon. So if you're not a friend with Fred, follow him at least and keep in touch with his content. He puts important information on there regularly about real estate issues. And that's how I followed him. We've been friends on Facebook for years and follow him. And like I said, I saw that comment and it was definitely worth talking about in person. So Frederick Solomon on Facebook, or you have his phone number. I'm not going to repeat it because if you want his phone number, you better pay attention, write it down because that's worth money here. And I appreciate your time with us. Fred, thanks so much for your time today. Any last words before you finish up?
Yeah, Bill Gross, the owner of PIMCO. There's another Bill Gross in this world and so I'm like, is this Bill Gross from PIMCO? I'm like, that guy's a well-known guy, but I respect what you do, Bill, because when we had the conversation this morning, I just want people to know a little bit, and I can find out people's character pretty darn quickly. And the character is that there's not a lot of people out there helping people. You said it yourself. There's not a lot of estate attorneys telling people to put their properties back into the living trust because technically that's how they make a living. And to be quite honest with you, the amount of money that they charge to prepare the deed of trust, to prepare the grant deed, all that stuff, the amount of money that they charge that you can go to a regular, escrow company like my girls and use that and use their services and then take the document if you're really, really careful and you're the really type of person that doesn't like to send a wire because of all the wire fraud and you rather take a cashier's check. If you're the type of person, grab the grant deed, take it down to the county recorder's office yourself, get the document recorded yourself to protect yourself. And you know what? You were telling people basically to go ahead and say, hey, these are ways to protect yourself. So you and I have the same philosophy of helping people. And that is needed in our industry. And that's why I'm doing this call with you, because I like to associate with like-minded people.
Thank you.
And there's not a lot of that out there. We all know who the scumbags are, and we all know who the good people are. So congratulations for that philosophy in life. And I'm sure that's probably one of the reasons why you're successful at what you do.
Thank you. Well, it's very nice of you to say. I will say there's actually two other Bill Grosses that are billionaires. One's in Newport Beach, PIMCO, and the other one is he was a part of the Internet 2.0, has Idea Labs. and
Oh,
his name is on Cedars-Sinai Hospital on the side of the building. He dedicated the latest wing. So when people go to the hospital, it says Bill Gross and his wife. I think her name is Cindy. So in Southern California, there's two Bill Grosses. They're billionaires and have been on the cover of Fortune magazine. But if you go to therealbillgross.com, that's me. So
the PIMCO Bill Gross, he paid for a whole new wing being built at a Hoag Hospital in Newport Beach. So
yes,
he's also
yeah,
heavy into donating. So, anyways,
yeah.
it's great to associate
Thanks.
with you, Bill, and
Thanks.
thank you for your time today
Thanks.
and asking me to do this.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it. It was great. And I won't hold you up from Taco Tuesday. So thanks so much, Fred.
All right, take care.